All right, ladies, good afternoon and welcome to this afternoon session. I know we have a bit of rain with us today. As a farmer, I'm glad for it. So I am glad that you got home safe and that everybody is okay. This afternoon is going to be somewhat of a not as long session. I promise to try and keep it within the 8 o'clock realm. What I want to say in terms of the structure this afternoon is that I had promised to give those persons who did not get an opportunity to recap the first session some time. I also was to do a little bit of research for some persons, so I want to get that out of the way as well. And then we will go into the full session. What I would ask is that you give me the opportunity to present the information this afternoon, and then I would give you probably between 20 minutes or so in which you can ask questions, and so we can do a Q&A, and then we wrap up in time for 8 o'clock. I know we all have busy days and you're tired, so I want to make sure that I keep it within that 8 o'clock realm tonight. So without further ado, I don't know if anyone would like to volunteer to give some thanks to the Most High before we start the session this afternoon. Can I have a volunteer? Anybody? Are you hearing me?
Good night. Yes, please.
Okay, good. So would anybody want to volunteer? If not, let's just say a word of prayer. Heavenly Father, we give you thanks and praise. We are so grateful for your mercies. We are so grateful for your grace. Thank you for your blessing in the weather that you have been given to us. We just want to give you thanks and praise. Thank you for life, and thank you for today. We pray, Father, as we continue with this evening session, that you would be in our midst. We invite you. We ask that you be among us and that you open our minds so that we will learn. We give you all the grace, we give you all the praise, and we give you all the honor. In Jesus' precious name, amen. Thank you very much. So this afternoon, Latoya, when you're ready, you could share your screen.
Okay.
I am not sure if Fiona or Angeline is on as yet. If they are, I would give them their couple of minutes now so that they can do their recap from the first session. So Fiona, Angeline, if you're on, then I give you your couple of minutes now.
Yes, good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon, Angeline.
Yes, there. Well, as I said last week, I had composed a poem, so let me just quickly go through it. Agribusiness is everybody's business. Whether you're a farmer, a producer, a provider, a processor, a customer, or a consumer, we are all a part of it. Agribusiness is about getting the product from production to the consumer for consumption. Agribusiness has so many facets to it. It consists of ranching, farming, marketing, packaging, conservation, production, management, investment, community involvement, youth empowerment, creating employment, business development. And we mustn't forget record keeping, because without it, we won't know how our business is doing. Agribusiness also has its challenges, like climate and consumer taste changes, technology advances, and value chain processes. We need to add value to our products so that they can make more money for us. We must identify the actors and the activities that move the product from the field to a meal, and endeavor to add value to the chain so that more profit we can gain, either in researching, producing, marketing, or supplying. So let's do like the clock and keep going so that agribusiness can keep growing. That's it. I'm finished.
Ooh,
Well done.
Can we give her a round of applause? Beautiful, beautiful. Thank you very much, Angeline. You covered
Yes.
basically
Well
all of
done.
the
Well done.
aspects. I don't know if anyone wants to add anything to.
Well, okay. I have a suggestion.
Sure.
Probably you can save that poem for graduation because I think it would be extremely fitting. Because even though it says agribusiness, basically it encompasses a lot that is related to agriculture in general. So I'm just throwing it out there to you. Just think about it.
Okay, I will do. Okay, thanks.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Angeline, for that. As Latoya is suggesting, I think you should keep it for graduation. So we'll look forward to hearing it again. Then you still have a little time if you want to fine tune anything. You could still fine tune. If you forgot anything, you can put it in, so that for graduation it will be ready as you would love it to be to be ready. So thank you very much
Yes,
again.
I'll polish it up for graduation.
Thank you for the effort. I appreciate it very much. I really, really appreciate it very much. Good. So, Fiona, she's on. Yes, Fiona is not with us as yet. Okay. All right. So that's recap for day one. We were rushing on day two, so I did not ask anyone to recap. I normally do. I don't know if anybody would like to take the chance or take the opportunity to recap what we did in session. Oh, Fiona, I'm seeing you. What we did session 2. Before we could just give Fiona the opportunity now if she's ready. Fiona, are you ready? Are your voice a little better today?
Yes, it is better today.
Good, great. Glad to hear that. So are you ready?
Well, after that presentation, that was
That's okay. That's okay. That's okay. That's fine. You presented. You're going to present how you saw it, so that's no problem at all.
Yeah, well, I am basically just presenting from the notes that I basically took for my understanding of it. So, good night again, everyone. Agribusiness is or includes farming production, marketing and management of agricultural commodities. For example, investments and expansion, we have you must invest the money from the product back into the business so that you can help to create employment. You must always try to make an impact on the community, for example, youth involvement, to help to reduce things like poverty, some impacts on agribusiness could be things like climate change. So you must always find out what the climate is going to be ahead of time so that you know what crops you are going to grow, how you would go about growing them as well. We also have customer demand. You must always remember that the business is not about you, but about what the customer wants and also the demand of the consumer. Some my notes are kind of scattered all over. We have impacts on agribusiness. Agribusiness offers the opportunity for you to be competitive, or it gives you the opportunity to do better than your competition or even your best. We have the social impact, for example, it improves food security, it gives access to employment, reduces poverty, it also gives large organizations the opportunity to grow. Categories of agribusiness production, which would include things like feed, fertilizer, energy, equipment, machinery, agricultural commodities, moving your raw products to other products, also facilitative services like insurance and transportation, processing, for example, storage and packaging. And then we now move on to the value chain, which for example, I'm going to use your example, which is the farmer sells to the processor, who supplies to a wholesaler, who supplies to a retailer, who supplies to a consumer, with transport and other links in between. Then we have added value techniques, for example, drying and chilling, which you would have used sorry, but I'm thinking if I have to use another example, we have things like peas or maybe corn, where you can sell, for example, the peas. Some people sell their peas in just like that, straight off the tree. You could sell it shelled already, where you could make a bit more money. You could sell it dried as well, where people can use it to replant or to eat. We have cleaning and sorting, which you may have used edibles as your example. I am going to use potatoes, where you can grade your potatoes according to their size. You can sell the larger ones. You can probably use the smaller ones for making things like potato flour. And of course, the vines that you would have pulled from harvesting the potatoes, you can also use to replant or resell to other farmers to produce more potatoes over time. Then we have things like storing and chilling, where you would have used mangoes as one of your examples. I'm thinking something like passion fruit is a good example, where you can harvest the passion fruit when you have a lot. You could store them in your fridge. You could use the passion fruit for things, storage, for selling, for making things like juice or things like wine. And then we have processing and packaging and bulking. Yes, as another example for added value techniques. Yes, here ends my presentation this afternoon. That was my understanding of it.
Thank you, Fiona. I think you did very, very well. Let's give her a round of applause. Ladies, I can't clap too much. I damaged my hands a bit. So thank you very much, ladies. I am very happy with the recaps. I just want to point out a couple things. I want you to always remember the importance of trying to find where you are along that value chain, and remember that what you're doing, think about the different revenue streams, how you actually get money come into the business. And I think Fiona did a beautiful job of looking at different examples and utilizing the different ways in terms of how you can add value and where your different revenue streams can come from. So thank you very much, ladies. I think you did a beautiful job. So continue. What we would do as well, let me just briefly, since I did not get anybody to recap for last session, I would just briefly run through some of the things that we did last session. So last session, we looked at the different components of a business plan. We also look at 3 ways that we can communicate our different ideas that we have. So we looked at the business plan, we look at the components of the business plan. We also looked at some other considerations in terms of add-on that we can add to our business plan to give it some meat, that would allow us to utilize it for the purpose that we're going to use it for. We also looked at the lean canvas. So we looked at a different way in which we can communicate our ideas without all the time that a business plan would take, and also the layout. So basically with the lean canvas, you look at it from a one-stop shop. So you get a one glance on a sheet of paper as to how your business idea looks. And then we looked at the elevator pitch, also a different way in which we can present our idea when you are on a run and you possibly meet somebody who can actually give you funding. We also looked at the possibility of actually starting the business from scratch. So we looked at ideation, how we come up with ideation. So I gave you 2 challenges last time. I want to now give you the opportunity to share, if anybody wants to share, if they took up the 2 challenges of brainstorming, because we mentioned brainstorming where you come up with 10 ideas in 5 minutes. So we were looking at the ideation process. We also look at business models, so different revenue streams, how you're actually making your money. We covered about 4. So we looked at B2B, which is business to business. We also looked at B2C, which talked about business to consumer. We looked at consumer to consumer, and we also looked at how we embrace digital technology and look at m-commerce. So we talked about those apps on your phones that allow you to do business easier, that allows you to engage with your customers. So we talked about the WhatsApp business, and all those other technology. We also looked at, so we looked at the plans, and if I forgot anything, ladies, you can remind me. So we looked at a couple things last time. So I don't know if anybody would want to share, if anybody got a chance to think about that challenge that I gave, where you can come up with 10 ideas in 5 minutes. Would anybody want to try? Did anybody get an opportunity to look at it? And if by chance you just want to share those 10 ideas that you came up with. Did anybody get an opportunity? No? Okay, well, the challenge is still out there for you to look at. Push yourself, think outside of the box, see if you can come up with those 10 ideas in 5 minutes. And then you can probably expand based on the training that you got. So Renita is saying that she did. Renita, would you want to share? If not, good. So then, hey, practice it. It's a good challenge. Latoya, Renita is saying that she's unmuting, but we're not hearing. I don't know. I know we might probably have some.
I don't see. Let me do it for her then.
Okay.
It's Renita.
Renita, yes. Yes, Amanda, I figured as much.
It's showing her as being on mute.
Okay.
It might be a problem with her mic.
Okay. All right. So the challenge is still out there, ladies. Whenever you get an opportunity, I tend to do it ever so often when I am relaxing and looking in terms of getting ready to plan for the year to come, or probably my 6 months plan. I tend to just do it and see what I can come up with. So it's just a challenge to you. You can try it sometime. And then I also give you the challenge of actually doing a lean canvas for your particular business or for your particular idea. So I don't know if anyone got that opportunity. I would have loved to hear somebody share tonight so that I can guide a bit. But you still have some time. You can always do it and share it with Latoya, who will send it to me, and I can always comment on it. So you have some time to do it. And the final thing before we actually go into our session for tonight is that I was asked by Veltina, I'm not sure if she's on and if I got that right, about trademarks. I would like to provide a bit of information for her. I did some research. I did promise to do that research for her. So Veltina, as I said to you, in terms of trademarks, I looked at SIPO, which is the Commerce and Intellectual Property Office, SVG, and they have a beautiful on-site online information. SIPO seem to have embraced this whole digital transformation that's going on. There's so much things now. SIPO is basically online. So any information that you want, even up to today, I was trying out in terms of registration. If you can do registration online, I'm being told that you can go to the SIPO site now and do your business registration. I think they can even do payments online. So if you have some time and you're sitting at your computer, you're utilizing your phone and you have some time, you could check out the SIPO website. But I did do that research for you as it pertains to trademarks. You had asked in terms of trademarks. Joylyn did provide you with some information in terms of costs and possible lawyers that you can look into to help you with the trademarks, but I just want to give you some information from SIPO. So SIPO basically giving you their definition of what trademarks are. So trademarks are signs that distinguish the goods or services of one business from those of other businesses. And they're encouraging you, before using a trademark, you should check the register of trademarks. I believe SIPO can help you with that. And then they have manual search for business names, companies, and trademark registered may be conducted at cost ranging from $2 to $5. There's a national protection. What they're saying, registration of trademarks in St. Vincent and the Grenadines only gives it protection within the jurisdiction of St. Vincent and the Grenadines. So local registration would nonetheless be useful abroad as evidence of your trademark reputation in support of an action for passing off. All right, what they're saying, ideally, however, you should register your trademark in every country where you will be using it. All right. They have some penalties going on where an unregistered trademark is represented to be locally registered. The person who has applied that mark is liable to a fine of $10,000. And what they want you to remember is that a trademark, a registered trademark, helps to create brand identity for your products and your services, fosters consumer loyalty, it facilitates expansion of business through the licensing of rights, and it enables a swift response to unfair competition. So what I would encourage you to do, and there is notice of the application for trademark is online as well. So I mean, when you find some time, just check out the SIPO website. There's a wealth of information there for persons who are interested. So I am seeing King. You have your hand raised. Do you have a question?
Yes, I just wanted to ask in regards, I know you said something about a fee. Is that for the registration or for the process?
I think it's for the search.
Oh, the search.
I think it's for the search. Let me just double check. Let me go back to that, to the information. So, right. So the manual search for the business name, the companies, and the trademark registers may be conducted at a cost ranging from $2 to $5. So I think it's the search.
Okay, so did this say any like a range for the actual process, like an estimate?
The information is there, but I did not they did not say. But you need to, I think when you go onto the site, right? There's a section that says SIPO SVG fees. There is that section that you can go and find out the necessary information as it applies to the different fees. But I know business registration name, the registration of your business name is $250. Anything else beyond that, it goes up.
Okay, I understand. Thank you.
Right. So I went on today and I was pleasantly surprised with the amount of information that you can actually gather from the site. So I encourage you, if you are looking to do business registration, if you're thinking about trademarks and copywriting and all of that, there's a wealth of information on SIPO's site. Also, if you want to look regional, there is Caribbean Export site as well that has some information on regional trademarks. And if you want to go beyond that, there is the International Trade Center website, ITC, that you can also go on and find out necessary information on trademarks. All right. So I hope that information helped and that you can actually use that information to move your business forward. So without no further ado, we can start today's session. All right. Okay, Latoya, when you're ready. So Latoya, can we go forward to the slide on funding? I think funding. I had a teaser. I don't know if you actually want to participate in it. Latoya, can you go back to the slide that says what is a green dot? Thank you, Joella, for sharing in the chat the site for SIPO. So ladies, Joella just shared the link for the site for SIPO. If not, you can put it into your Google search and put SIPO SVG. It will take you to the site for the organization, for the department. Okay, so I wanted to do this, but since we have taken up so much time already with that, we will skip this and we will go straight into the presentation. All right. So Latoya, one slide over, please. Good. So discussion. So which options are available for persons who are looking for finance? Can anybody share what are their thoughts on this particular topic? What options exist for covering a financial gap? So if your business is looking for funding, where can we find funding? What are some of the options? Anybody want to share? Have anybody, right? So Alberta says credit unions, right? In our context, yes. Anywhere else? Brands?
As you had mentioned before, you can try like family members, you know, who want to help you there, and well, other lending institutions.
All right. Thank you very much, Michelle. Amanda mentioned Prime.
Your savings.
Your savings. That's true. Any other ones?
Susu.
Ah, brilliant. Susu. I've been trying to.
Yes, I was just about to say Susu Han.
I've been trying to. Basically what I do, I participate in couple Susu Hands, and what I have done is that I would allocate money from the business monthly to actually pay these Susu. And I know when I would get them, so I normally would use them when I want to do bulk things. Like for example, when I want to buy seeds in bulk, when I want to buy fertilizers in bulk, when I want to buy packaging material in bulk. So I normally would use them in terms of a savings for the business, so that I can use when I want to do bulk stuff as it pertains to the business. So you can use it as you want. Once it is used back into the business, because it's actually the business money, it becomes an expense. for the business. So you need to use that back in the business for the development of the business, not yours. It belongs to the business. All the ideas that you mentioned there are definitely ways that you can access or you could fill that gap for finances. I just want to share a couple with you as well. So let's see. Let's organize this one. Good. So areas that are where we can actually find funding, we can look at grants. We could look at debt financing, which would be like your banks. We can look at angel investment, and we can also look at venture capital investment. Those are just, I don't want to go deep into these areas because you would have a whole session on these things. But I just want to say, when you're looking for finance for your business development, these are some of the areas that you can actually, or where you can actually find finance. So for grants and subsidies, with grants are financial assistance provided by government agencies to support specific sectors, projects, or business activities. And then we have subsidies, which we don't have so much of that here, but in the mega economies like the European economies and also the US, subsidies are a big thing. So subsidies may reduce the cost of certain business activities such as research and development or export activities. Sometimes we get it on fertilizer as well, when government sometimes will run programs for fertilizers and other things like equipment and things like that. Then we have bank loans, traditional loans for commercial banks, which can be secured or unsecured, short-term or long-term. I would advise though, when you're going for loans, make sure you're actually ready and prepared for going for loans, because loans need to be paid back. All right. Also, what I would say to you is that if you have an account set up where you save the business money, I would advise you to actually create a credit history with your financial institution. That way, when you go for loans or you go for funding, it's easier for them to give it to you because you have already created a history. So when you get your revenue streams, then you save it or you pass it through the financial institution. And when you need it to pay someone, then you take that money and you pay the person. For example, I have now embraced online banking, which I would probably advise you to do as well. I now pay some of my suppliers using my online banking, my online app in terms of for banking. So you have to embrace as the sector changes, you have to embrace change as well and make your business activities more streamlined and more seamless, so you don't have as much stress as possible. So I would do a peer-to-peer to pay a supplier once they are online as well. So I could be doing other things and paying my suppliers as well. So I would encourage you to embrace these little changes in your business that will make it more streamlined, less hassle for you. You have more time for yourself. Stress level goes down and everything, and life is prolonged. And that's what we want. All right. So embrace these things. Make sure you create a credit history with your financial institution so that when you're going for loans, it's more easier, streamlined. They see how money come into your account. They see how money leave. And, you know, you actually get a thumbs up, easier to access the loan. So bank loans, we have micro loans. We have had some micro loans passing through St. Vincent for the past couple of years. Some persons mentioned, Amanda mentioned Prime, and a couple of other incentives that the government put in place in terms for business development. And then, of course, we have line of credit, which is a revolving credit line from a bank or other financial institution. I don't know how many of you know this, but GECU, which is one of our major financial institution, has a revolving credit line for businesses as well. you can go in and have a conversation with a loans officer concerning lines of credit, revolving credit lines in the institution. A lot of people don't use it, but I know Geku have this revolving credit line that you can probably tap into if you're looking for finance. And then we were talking about, you know, families, so peer-to-peer, so we borrow from individual or groups. You know, we can actually online, so platforms that are there, we can look at those. And some of the other ones that we can look at are investors, angel investors. Now, these are the tricky ones. And I, for small businesses, I tend to say, be careful when you're going into these. So these are individual investors who provide capital in exchange for equity ownership in the company. You have to be willing to make up your mind as to how much ownership you want to give up for this particular line of finance. They provide you with basically everything. They provide you with funding, they provide you with business guidance and everything, but you have to give them a part of the business. Now, your family and friends might tell you the same thing. You know what? I want to lend, I'm going to give you 10%. I'm going to give you some money. I'm going to give you $10,000, but I need ownership. So I need a 5% on that. What I would advise is that you need to work out the figure. So if they're giving you $10,000 and they want 5% of the business, what that equates to, before you actually say yes or no to that particular finance. So we have to be careful, especially when it comes to angel investors. And sometimes, in my opinion, I think the larger companies can manage this particular kind of financing. We have very few in the Caribbean. I think there are some in Jamaica. I think we'll find some in Barbados as well, but there are very few in the Caribbean. And then you have venture capital, which is investment from venture capital firms in exchange for equity. As I say, these are for the high growth startups. So they look at startups that are rapidly moving. Like, for example, right now in the technology industry, you would find a lot of these particular startups and they would ask for venture capital. Will look at these particular kind of financing for small businesses. But for us, it's a little bit safer to stay within the realm of what we know in terms of grants, loans, family, friends. If you're large enough, then you can do the angel investor and you can do the venture capital financing. Latoya, can we move on to the other slide? Right. So these are just some of what we just spoke about in terms of how we can look at it. What I want to share on this particular slide, though, is we need to know when we want funding. So, for example, when we're just starting up, what I would say to you in terms of source of funding, look at friends, family, look at those, look at that pool. And then, of course, you can also look at crowdfunding, and probably depends on your size. But I would say when you're just starting up and you're looking for that seed fund, stay within the realm of family and friends, and probably we can look at loans and things like that. As you move on and as you grow, then you look for the venture capital funds, you look for those grants, you look for private equity and things like that moving forward. So the thing is that with these particular funding areas, is that as your business grow, because we're looking at agribusiness development and you're not expected to stay at just your idea stage. You're looking for ways and means as your business grow to find different funding. So the idea is to know when to use the different financing. So when you're just starting up, you can look at your own private funds, you can look at the SUSU, you can look at your family and friends. And as you expand, then you can go and look for your loans. You could always tap into your grants, because grants most of the time you don't most of the time they come with the condition that you don't really have to pay it back. All right. And then as you go beyond, you think about the crowdfunding in terms of, hey, what can I put up out there to see how I can get funds? So the crowdfunding is actually you're playing a game. So you put something up and then you say, here, what would somebody want to invest even $1? And then you just make it so attractive that by the end of the campaign that you put out for the period, you might probably find that you actually come up with the funds to do what you wanted to do at the time. But you got to give something. And then you can look at the angel investors. But the thing is, with funding, you just need to know when you are ready for the particular finance at a time. So whenever you're thinking about funds, just sit back, reflect, and say, here, what do I really need funds? And if I do need it, where do I get these funds from? All right. So that's what I want to share on that particular slide. So Latoya, can we go to the next slide? Good. So I just want to give you some strategies that you can use in your business when you're looking in terms of developing your business. One of the things I want to talk about is resource allocation. We have to be aware as to basically what we have in our hands that is ours and how best we can actually use that for the business to grow. For example, you might probably have lands. You're probably using an acre to do something now, but you want to advance and you want to develop the business. An opportunity came up and you want to take it forward. So you look at how can you use the additional lands in such an efficient way or in such a way that it actually moves the business forward. For example, when I started with just crop production. And then I expanded into pasture and I expanded into animal production, small ruminants. I did sheep, I did goat, I did rabbits, moving forward. And then I expanded again. So we got some additional lands and I expanded. But the thing is that I had to know how to utilize the necessary resources. And the biggest resource that I needed to actually utilize is how to manage time. How to manage my time, because I was also working. So it is important that you do not overstretch yourself. And you can do this, and you can get very tired and stressful, and then you end up being ill. And that's not about business development. The thing is that you have to know when to utilize your necessary resources that you have so that the business can grow. So if you know you cannot, and I said it very earlier in our, I think is our first session, you cannot do everything. So one of the ways to efficiently do is to actually see or to actually decide when you need additional help. All right, good. So that's one of the strategies. You need to do basically efficient resource allocation. Quality management. When we talk about quality management here is that here you need to say, this is what I do in terms of my procedures so that my business can go forward. I remember when I started, I had a conversation with an old farmer and he told me how he did things. But you in your own self have to realize that this is what, based on the research that you did when you're looking in terms of setting up your business, this is not what actually the market is asking for. So there are certain things that you need to do in terms of making sure that the product or the service that you put forward is quality. And you have to manage this particular quality. So for example, I would know in terms of post-harvesting, when I am reaping, there are certain things that I would do to make sure that at the end, what I deliver to my customer is quality. For example, if I am delivering, I would reap on a Sunday and I will make sure that I get rid of my produce by Monday because I want it to be of a certain standard in terms of quality. And quality here is not just in terms of the produce, it's also in terms of your delivery. So I don't do my marketing. I have someone who does my marketing for me. What I had to do though is that although I have someone that is doing the marketing for me, I actually had to present myself at the different markets so that they know who they're actually doing business with. And then of course you don't need to go now. There is WhatsApp, video call, and all these things that I now utilize so that I could maximize my time in the functioning of the business, because I can't be here, there, and everywhere. So I have certain standards. I reap on a particular day. It must leave either the next day or in 2 days in terms of quality. Anything beyond that, I would not sell it. Because storage becomes an issue. So if you have the storage, then you think about the necessary temperature and all these things that you have to store to make sure that your quality is top notch. And my delivery time, I tend to deliver in the morning when it's cool. I don't want to be delivering things to you when the sun is hot or things like that. So quality, I tend to pay absolute attention to quality when I am delivering my produce, whether it's the produce or my delivery time or the containers or whatever packaging material I am using to deliver it. Must be cleaned, must be of a certain standard. So you within your business have to set these things. These are strategies that you can use to make sure that your business grows. You know what your realm is, so you have to fashion your business in terms of development within these realms. So for me, it's the produce itself and also my delivery time and how I conduct the follow-up business in terms of how we payments and collection. So pay attention to those things. And then you also have to pay attention to the inputs that you use. It's important for you to pay attention to the inputs that you use. Some of you mentioned that you're into natural and things like that. Okay, but you must make sure that you use the best that you can find. Because I always say at the end of the day that what I produce, I also use it as well. So whatever I want for myself, I will have to, well, it's my motto. It's the same thing I want to give to my customers and also to, at the end of the day, the consumers. So be mindful of what you use in terms of your input in your production or in your production or in your delivery of your service. So if you're doing your transportation and you know you have to go and deliver people's stuff or deliver farmers stuff, here what? Have a polling. Make sure that the polling is clean. Wash your vehicle before you actually go and do these things. Don't have persons standing on them and things like that. All of that falls under quality management and at the final product or service that you deliver. The next one I want to go into is technology adoption. There's a lot of things happening in terms of technology and the development of it in agriculture and how you can actually use this to move your agribusiness to the next step. I have been talking a lot about digital transformation and how I have embraced that in my business. I would advise you to look at it and see how best you can use technology in advancing your business. So I have embraced the digital end of it in terms of taking orders. So I use my WhatsApp. In terms of payments, so I use my online banking. In terms of accessing information, I join groups on Facebook, Instagram, and all these things to find out necessary information. I use technology to meet my customers. I use it to listen to their complaints and to address them. So we cannot do business like our forefathers did. We have to embrace, because technology is one of the drivers in terms of change for what is happening in agriculture and also agribusiness by extension. So we have to learn to somewhere along the line, if we're looking to move our business from where it is to the next end, to embrace technology. Risk management. Now, a lot of us don't plan this. in terms of, and when I talk about risk management here, I want to talk about business continuity. I mentioned it earlier up. I want to just reinforce it, reiterate it a bit here. Now, in terms of business continuity and how it affects what you do. If you decide to just stay you alone, doing everything within the particular business, if anything strike, it means business would stop and you're not going to get access to funds. So we have to embrace change. We have to look at the fact that here we are in the hurricane belt. So what do we do? Couple of things. We could think about storage. How do we store what we do so that we don't be selling right away? All right. We need to look about the different technologies that we can embrace to add value to what we are doing. So no longer do we just take the mango, we make pulps, we store them, and then now we can sell these off for persons who are making juice, for persons who are making jam. We have to plan ahead to make sure that if anything happens to us, God forbid, or if anything happens to different aspect of the business, there is some plan in place to manage risk. There's a mitigation plan in place. So it probably might be, for example, if I could just, I remember I bought I planted 2 crops and fungus just decided to take it over. And it was just like, it just went like, it became a shock to me because it was the first time that it happened, right? That was the very first time that happened to me. And then for the next year, I looked at it and I started to plan. I said, well, here what? If that happens, I need to make sure that I have that set amount of plants, seedlings that I use, that I lost for those 2 crops. In the event it happens again, I have it. So I look at seeds. I also look at seedling production and things like that. If I don't have, I have developed, relationship with my suppliers so that I could always have when I need. So you need to put things in place in terms of strategy for moving forward in the event that anything's happened. So you have a risk mitigation plan in place. Thinking ahead 5 years, I've already started to plan that business continuity plan in my head because I already see certain things in terms of changes that is happening to my particular business. So once you can identify that here, this is a change that might probably happen, start to think about how you can mitigate this particular risk that is coming your way. At the end of the day, remember, we have to continue making money. At the end of the day, that's what business is all about. We have to continue make that money because at the end of the day, we are thinking about wealth. Right? Good. Financial management. We have to get savvy with how we manage our finances. That is just absolutely important in terms of how do we go forward. How do we manage the finances? And I can't say it enough. The profit from your business is not yours. A lot of us state that and we use it. The thing is that your business is supposed to pay. Because you're the one that is actually running the business, you can set up how you pay yourself. All right. For example, in my business, I do not pay myself every month. I do it quarterly. That way I have cash in hand to do what I need to do. So remember, cash is king for small businesses like ours. So we always have to make sure that we have the necessary amount of cash to move our business forward. So managing your finances is absolutely important. Keeping those records, absolutely important. Keep your books, your receipt books, keep your expenditures, be mindful of them, look at them, and see how you can manage them. If somebody say to you, so what is your biggest cost in your business? You should be able to say to them. So if you're approaching a financial institution for a loan, and you're having a conversation with the loans officer, and the loans officer said to you, hey, what's your biggest expense? you must be able to say off the top of your head, based on your records, comfortably enough, that here what? This is my biggest expense. Your loans officer is now going to use this information to see how best he can help you in terms of you getting your loan. What are your revenue streams? Might probably be a next question. He might ask you, and you might probably be able to say, here what? These are the revenue streams that I have. And that actually presents an opportunity for you to access this loan. So it's important for you to manage your financial. Manage them in such a way that your business actually can grow. Take your profit, reinvest it back. If you have to buy more, like for example, I remember I'm working with a client right now who is basically, she got access to some funds and every little cent of that went back into the business. When before the funding, she was so stressed out and things like that. Now, when I spoke to her recently, she said to me, I'm having a cup of tea. Before, she couldn't say that to me because she's always constantly going. So she used the finance, invested in technology, invested in training, and hey, she can now sit down and enjoy a cup of tea while the technology work for her. So it's important for you to manage finances. And then last but not least, and a lot of us don't do this, most of us, especially in agriculture, do not do this, performance indicators. When we say performance indicators, it's just basically here what do I put there in place to say that the business is actually growing, or that I'm actually doing well, or I'm not doing well, or I probably need to stop doing a product if I'm doing agro processing, or I probably need to just come out of small ruminant production because predator lastly is just completely walking with the business. Put those indicators in place. One of my indicator in terms of whether the business is doing well, yes or no, is the number of orders that I get. Also, how much other additional customers that I got over a particular period, based on what I had said that I wanted to do for the year. So these indicators are based on your business planning. So at the beginning of the year, or sometimes you need to step back in the middle of the year, which I find often that you have to do now based on the things that are happening. We had COVID, we had volcanic eruption, so much things are happening that is saying to us, here what? We need to step back and we need to look at the indicators to see whether we need to change some of them or whether the business is actually doing good or whether the business is actually doing bad. Do we need to drop something? Do we need to add something? Do I need to engage additional staff, or do I need to tell my staff here what? I have to lay them off for 2 weeks or things like that. So these are just some of the strategies. There are many more that you can look at in terms of how you can actually move your business forward. Latoya, how we're doing at time? Are we okay in terms of time? I have to bear that in mind tonight.
Yes, we are. We actually are at this hour in mark.
Okay. All right. Good. Great. So can we move to the next slide? I don't know. As I said, just jot your questions down, and I would give you time to ask your questions. All right. Good. So next slide. Good. So question. Why do we need to change if it's working? Everybody agree with this statement? Anybody have any different thoughts on this? In terms of if things are going well, why change? Oh, sorry to sit up. Good. So Natisha said there's always room for improvement. All right. Anybody else? So do we agree with this statement or we disagree with the statement? Yes, most forces are willing to step out.
Yes, agreeing with the statement. So as per regards, why do we change? Why do we need to change? Even if it's working, we need to be innovative. We need to think futuristic. And be able to adapt to the new norms, even if it is working.
That is absolutely true. Azuba said we need to step out of our comfort zone. We need to go along with technology. We need to change with it. All of that, ladies. I mean, nothing stays the same. That's true, Shola. Growth. Nothing stays the same. And even if something that you're doing is doing well, there is always room for improvement, especially if you are in business and you are looking for growth. The thing is that how I see this particular paradox is that even if I am doing, for example, I am good at, let's say I'm good at cabbage production, or let's say I'm good at making jams. Consumer preferences, consumer tastes is changing every day. And if I want to survive, and if I want to be competitive, I need to also change with the time. So it's not that it's not working. It's just that here what? If I don't continue to change, I will be left behind. So that's my thinking when I look at this particular paradox. Some persons would just feel comfortable and they would stay where they. I remember a couple years ago, I don't know if you realized it. A couple years ago, Lanes, Edward D. Lanes and Son business was actually going down. I don't know if anybody actually noticed it.
Yes, I noted that.
That business was going down. That business was definitely going downstream. And I think they stepped back and they realized that here what we're doing, yes, Lanes is one of the stores where if you want anything, Vincent, go there. One of the first suggestions that will be on your lips. So I think what the family did is that they stepped out of the management and they actually employed someone to manage. So they made a change. They made a strategic change. And now look at Lanes. Lanes has completely changed how they're doing things. They made the things that they had upstairs, they bring it upstairs, which now they're thinking about their consumers. The older ones cannot go up the elders cannot go up these stairs. So we need to put things that are closer to their hands lower down and things like that. And Lanes is actually doing business now. Lanes, let's not even talk about the city store. Lanes now have the store up the road. They have one in Arnisvale. That is, you need to realize when you have to give it up, even if it's working. The changes, what is happening. The government is looking to develop Arnisvale as the second capital, as the new capital. So you need to get in there before the others. And then ACE went in. We now have the big deal. There is so much changes. So when you are doing business, even if it's working for you, you need to step back and reflect and look at the changes in the environment. Look at the drivers. We mentioned the drivers very early on in the first presentation. We need to look at what is driving change within our different sectors and see how best our business can fit. So if by chance we have to move from where we are along the value chain and embrace an additional area of the value chain, then here what? That is probably what we need to do for our business to continue to grow. So please never get too comfortable with an idea that you have. Always try to think about outside of the box and ask yourself, what is it that your customers or your consumers are saying to you once you look at your business model? So everything interlocks at the end of the day in terms of how the business actually move forward. So thank you for sharing. Elaine's has basically gone beyond, even if they are probably actually one of the most expensive, people still go to them because they realize that here what, This is what the consumer is asking for. Not everybody wants to journey into Kingston. And that is one of the things we probably coming to us that we probably need to look at in terms of agriculture as well. Not everyone wants to journey into Kingston. So we probably need to see how we could expand the agriculture sector into these particular areas. Like, for example, the government is talking about making Arnesville the next capital. So can we probably find a space there now that we could start to think about opening a store, that opening a business that, you know, would sell agriculture produce or things like that. So we need to think outside of the box and don't let this paradox actually hold us back in terms of it's working. Even if it's working, we need to think outside of the box. All right, good. Thank you, ladies, for sharing. Latoya, next slide. Good. So I wanted to introduce this a little bit before I talk about the different opportunities that I want to what I want to share in terms of what are there in agribusiness. There are a lot. There's a lot of opportunities right now in agribusiness, but I just want to talk about some as it pertains to the St. Vincent context and how we could utilize what is happening and what is going on. Good. So our first one. Toya, next slide, please. So we're going to look at some of the opportunities, and we're going to look at, first one I want to talk about is digital transformation. So what's happening in the technology world? Couple things. So what is digital transformation? Digital transformation is basically, we know about what we call brick and mortar. So we have a storefront. We have a farm. We visit the market. All of that. But when we talk about digital transformation now, is that where we are moving from what we know in terms of a physical structure and we are going online. So we are embracing the virtual world. And agriculture has been doing that in terms of drones, in terms of information gathering. So we have been utilizing drones for information gathering in terms of what crop production is, what's happening in terms of the field, the farms, crop production, rainfall, drought, so climate change, what is happening. We have been utilizing digital transformation for that. We have been utilizing e-commerce business models now. So we do B2B online. No longer do we necessarily just walk from business to business. No, we're doing all of that online. We are doing online payments. So there are opportunities there in terms of moving the business forward. We're doing online marketing. So now we have so much e-shops now. So you have the opportunity to sell on Amazon. You have the opportunity now to sell on eBay. There are other platforms that you can go specify. There are so much other platforms that you can go now and do your online marketing. And you know what? These days, if you don't have the information in terms of putting it forward, you know, in the way that you would really want to do it, there are freelancers out there in different platforms that you can utilize, and they produce the content for you. So you need a website developed. You can't do it yourself. There are freelancers out there that will do it for you. If you can't take photos, they will take the photos for you. If you want to put certain articles there and you don't know how, they will do it for you. So when you embrace digital transformation within your business, as I was saying, I use my online banking to make payments to my suppliers. I use my WhatsApp to handle orders, to check deliveries, and also to get feedback from customers. No longer do I actually have to physically walk and go and say, hey, how did the things go? Were you able, were they delivered on time and things like that? I use it now for record keeping. So I use Excel to account for my sales and also for my expenditure. So there are different ways that you can embrace digital transformation within your business, actually, to make it more streamlined, less stressful, and move the business forward, because you now have time to think about other ideas and to put in different aspects of the business. And you have some time for yourself as well, and family, because trust me, business could actually take you away from your family. And I would not want that to happen. All right. So you now have some time, you can actually go on a vacation and don't worry about actually feeding the birds. We have automated systems in place now that can do that for you. You can set up cameras. There are so much things you can do in terms of digital transformation to actually move your business forward. And they do exist in agriculture as well. They're not just for the CCI, and all of that. Digital transformation is a big thing in agriculture right now. So I would advise you to look at it and see how you could actually make it a part of your business. And then the second one I want to talk about is adaptive, innovative agriculture techniques. Couple things happening in terms of the drivers, and I deliberately put AI there. And when I say AI, I mean artificial intelligence, because this particular AI is basically in almost everything that we're doing today. It monitors how we eat. We go on Facebook and we tap into weight plans. It monitors how we dress. It monitors what we produce. Everything. Artificial intelligence is basically now a big part of it. And whether we want to adopt it, yes or no, it is there. And it is an opportunity that we can utilize to move our business forward as well. So I just wanted to drop it in there, although it's a big part of digital transformation. Vertical farming, I was having a discussion in terms of, what happening in terms of farming. Hey, a lot of our agricultural lands, and we had one of our largest, apart from what we're doing now for the port, one of our major capital investment took away a lot of our agricultural lands. That's the international airport took away a lot of our agricultural lands. And it meant that some farmers lost one of their major capital, which is, land. And we have to see how best we can fill that gap. And one of the things that you can do when you don't have that amount of space is to embrace vertical farming, hydroponics, aquaponics, and all the other techniques that are there, irrigation that are there to mitigate some of the issues that we're having. For example, I just worked with some ladies on the island of Mairo in terms of helping them to set up some vertical farming and partial hydroponics system. The issues that we were addressing there is climate change, which we all know on Mairo, especially how it is actually the furthest island out in terms of in the Atlantic. Mairo suffers a lot from extreme drought, and then when they do get rain, extreme as well. So we were looking how we can mitigate that problem in terms of climate change. So we embraced vertical farming, because then and hydroponics, so then you don't need that amount of water as opposed to open field farming. And then we were looking at the spill-off in terms of employment, because they depend a lot on tourism. They depend a lot on tourism as well. So we were looking at the spill-off effects of that. So they now have an additional revenue stream utilizing agriculture and they can also they have an opportunity to also develop the community by involving the youth and also educating others using this particular model in terms of growth, and to see how best we could adapt or embrace the opportunities that lie in agribusiness. So sometimes you just have to think outside the box, sit down, reflect, and see how best you can capitalize on the issues that are happening, or the drivers that are happening in agribusiness that can provide you or present opportunities out there for you to have an additional revenue stream when it comes to your business development. Then, of course, we have business continuity, and we have spoken a lot about that. We also have the emerging economies, different things that are happening in the economy that would affect your business and that will create opportunities for you in terms of technology. We're talking about biotechnology. We're talking about, when I talk about biotechnology, we're talking about seeds. We're talking about all those inputs, how we can improve on those. What are the opportunities that are out there for us in terms of seeds, fertilizers? What are they for embrace? How can we probably start businesses from these particular areas? What are the things that we can do? What are the opportunities that are there that we can use to move the business forward? And then when I talk about nanotechnology, those are that's the minute things that our scientists are playing with in terms of producing healthier food. What those stems or those genes that you can use in our plants that can be used for medicine, that can be used in terms of producing different varieties of food so that I can feed. Food could probably store longer and bring out the different properties in food in terms of health reasons and things like that. So there are a lot of opportunities that you can look at. We also need schools. We need agriculture schools and courses like what Helen's daughter is doing, so that we can educate our youth, we can educate our women, we can educate business persons, so that here what we can see how best we can move agribusiness from where it is now, especially in the context of St. Vincent, to beyond. So these are some of the opportunities. And then, I didn't mention stuff like export, the possibility of export and adding value. We have spoken about those earlier in previous sessions. So I just wanted to highlight some of those. There are others. There are a lot of others that we can think about, that we can talk about here. So I don't know if anyone would like to share a possible opportunity that they're seeing right now in terms of where agribusiness is going and what we can use in developing the sector. We have opportunities that I'm seeing every day in packaging. We need packaging, we need transportation. There's so much. Just need to look at the value chain and where you're sitting and what you can do different than what is being done now, so that you can find those opportunities and move forward. Somebody's mic is on. I don't know, you want to share a suggestion?
Nisha, I am definitely seeing the possibility of transport of agricultural produce, because the way the produce is being transported is definitely not the way it should be. Packaging again, in order to have that good quality, that good standard, that look on the market, definitely packaging and transport where the value chain is concerned.
I think we don't, especially in the agriculture industry, I don't think we tap in a lot into transportation and how it affects business growth for agriculture. And apart from that, the different infrastructures that are in place in terms of our feeder roads and all that issue in terms of quality and the final product that goes on the supermarket shelf. And now that you mentioned it, one of the things that we need to talk about, or we did speak a bit about it, and even is where we are adding value. Because if we sort and regrade what we get on the supermarket shelf and what we get at the market should be better than what we're seeing. So
Definitely.
you have to put different procedures in place to govern how your business actually go and do different. Because if you want to be competitive, you have to do different than what your other farmers or your other agro-processors are doing. You have to find that uniqueness about you. Right? Once you can find that, then your business becomes competitive and your revenue streams just grow, because you would find people actually finding you instead of you actually going to find markets. So those are some of the things we need to look at. Where do we add value? Where we are along the value chain. And when we do that, opportunities just tend to pop up. And I have to take Renita's comment where she's talking about the ministry and educating our children. That is a big opportunity that lies within agriculture that I see a lot of people not tapping into. And that's why I have to thank people like Helen's daughter for taking up this opportunity to share information with our women, empower our women to actually move from where they are to the next stage. We have to educate the youth, and only us can do it based on the experience that we bring to the industry or what we bring to the sector. So I would advise you to, Renita, to continue to share, educate our children, educate our adults, because not because we're doing something, we're accustomed to doing something one way, mean it's the right way, or mean it's the best way, or mean it's the way that is going to improve our lives. So it still brings us back to the paradox. Why do we need to change if it's working? All right. So thank you for sharing, ladies. It's just some of the things that I wanted to mention. As I said, there are many others that we can use. Let's go to our next slide. Good. Just wanted to share some additional ones as well. So problems, opportunities, niche marketing. I tried that couple years ago, in terms of how I wanted to differentiate myself from what everyone is doing. So when I started to farm, a donkey years ago, I started to do what everybody else was doing around me. And then as I got additional information and tried to find ways of cutting down on what I am doing, so that I don't be as stressed out and stuff like that, I realized that, what, I am good at this particular stuff, and there is a market for what I am good at. So I am not going to bother my head with everything else that I see everybody doing. So I found a particular market that did not have a lot of persons in it. And I have been playing that game for the past couple of years also. It takes a little while to actually manage this particular type of marketing. But once you manage it properly, it should actually bring some business growth, increase revenue, and also reduce your stress level at the end of the day. Because trust me, agriculture or agribusiness is not for persons who are weak or who have a faint heart. You have to be strong to survive in this particular sector. Because if as a farmer, you put in 1,000 holes of planting and we have a hurricane tomorrow, God forbid, and everyone blow down, if you paid $1 or $2 for a sucker, imagine what that is in terms of your expense, and you're not going to get anything back. So if you know you don't have that If you're not that strong-minded or strong of heart, then this particular sector is probably not for you. And it is also something that you have to come to grips with. If you are in a particular sector and it's not working, you're not finding the innovative way to actually get out of this particular slum, then it's probably there is always an option of saying, here what, let me step out and find something else to do. So niche marketing, once you could find that, it's an opportunity that you could really use in terms of increasing your revenue streams. Yep, I understand, Amanda. I understand fully well. Natural and organic product marketing. This has been around us for a lot of time, a long time. I love to say natural. There are persons who embrace organic. I don't have a problem with that. Once you can prove you're organic, I don't have a problem with it. But I tend to use natural, especially in this Vincent context. It's a process. It's a certification as well. And it also gives you that extra revenue stream once you can keep up that particular certification. Once you can keep up being natural and organic, it gives you that boost in terms of extra revenue stream because of the consumer preference, that driver in terms of taste and preference. Because we have been pushing the whole health and wellness opportunity and industry for many years, and agriculture feeds into this particular industry in a big way, from the actual raw product or the raw material to all the additions to the oils, to the spas, to the this, to the that. So there's a opportunity in where you can actually change. You can change what you're doing and say, here, what, let me embrace natural. And then in you doing that now, you can get an additional boost to your revenue stream. And there are standards. Standards govern every single thing that we do. And I just mentioned fair trade here. Everything. Even you within your own business can set certain standards and procedures that govern how your business runs. As I said, I have put certain procedures in my delivery time. I've put certain procedures in the inputs that I use. I've put certain procedures based on standards, and standards govern everything. So if you know, for example, you are an agro processor, your labels, you have to pay attention to your labels. You have to pay attention to the produce that you use. Keep it in the standard, and this will definitely push, because then you can now do export once you stay within those standards. All right, fair trade, we know you can't use certain chemicals, you have to use certain equipment and things like that. So utilizing standards, you can access an extra revenue streams. Export into different markets. We know export has been a big issue for St. Vincent for many years, and since COVID, and even before COVID, and now with the volcano ash that we have to deal with as farmers, we're still having export issues. And our largest exporter is the ECGC. And then of course we have ECML and St. Vincent Brewery. So when you look at exporting, we know that there are opportunities, but you just have to do the necessary things and put the necessary procedures in place to access the different markets. And in terms of accessing the information that you need to access markets, there are a lot of platforms around. Caribbean Export, Compete Caribbean, Bureau of Standards here in St. Vincent, other organizations that are around could help you in terms of your export and accessing the information that you need for the different markets. The Caribbean diaspora and even the Vincentian diaspora is actually larger than us living home here. So we know that there are an opportunity for our products out there. And they have also been embracing digital transformation, because you can now do e-shopping, you can now order your sugar cakes, you can now order your jams, you can now order your soaps, you can now order your oils, and all these things now online, get them shipped to you, and develop your business. So opportunity for exporting is there. Storytelling, I put it in there because I don't think a lot of us pay attention to it. You know, for example, I could use the Garifuna people, the way they do certain things could be used in terms of branding, and they can actually access an increase in their revenue just by telling their story. So if, for example, you produced a product by, let's say, women, and when I say women, I could talk about the fact that we could talk about, let's say, teenage mothers. You tell that story when you're doing your branding, and that relates to a lot of persons on the other end. It relates to your consumers on the other end, and that can actually increase your revenue stream, because persons can walk in to the supermarket and say, hey, this product is produced by teenage mothers, I buy it, then the money goes back to them. And one of the perfect examples we have here is what we call Toasty Water. They have embraced that particular concept of storytelling, where they say for every bottle of Toasty Water that you buy, how much a percent goes back to educating a child, or back to schools, or something of the sort. So opportunities lie in that particular area in terms of storytelling for businesses that want to go down that realm and go. Improving the local market. Well, we have tried it. I see a lot of our courses are now under shelter. How we do markets, but what I could probably suggest here is that if we can use the example of our regional counterparts, and we don't really have to reinvent the wheels when we're looking for opportunities. You have markets in different areas. I know I would hear my parents talk about the fact that on the leeward end you had the Belmont market, on the windward end you had, you know, the Georgetown end, and in the interior. I heard my parents talk about that. Think about it. You have 3 different market areas. If you can play in these 3 markets, and I'm telling you to overstretch yourself now, if you could play in these 3 different markets, then it means that you're having access to 3 different revenues. So if we have Kingston, probably in Belmont, probably in the interior, probably in Georgetown. Apart from that, apart from playing in those particular markets, you also have the tourism market. So you can look at tourism in terms of that being a particular market for you. So you have the hotels, you have these B&B, which we see due to the airport, we see a lot of B&Bs and Airbnbs popping up now, that you can have an additional revenue streams once you can go into those particular areas. We also have the wholesale market, which happens between that 1 o'clock, 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock time span, where you can actually go and sell your produce wholesale. So that also presents to you another revenue stream. It takes less expense from you, because you just go and you sell everything that you have wholesale. So those are some couple improvements that we can make to our local market that presents opportunities for us to have additional revenue stream. We have touched on some of the techniques in terms of adding value. How do we add value, and how do we capitalize on those opportunities? Fiona outlined some beautiful ones in her presentation in terms of how she can use mangoes and make pulps and store them and sell them to persons who are doing juice, jams, and things like that. So we have touched on the opportunities that exist within adding value. And then we have buy local campaigns, eat local campaigns that also present opportunities for farmers to produce more and actually get additional sale for their produce. So those are just some of the opportunities that I want. There are many more, and I'm sure that you can come up with many, many more in terms of for your daily interaction with agribusiness and with agriculture. So those are some of the opportunities. So Latoya, next slide, please. I think I have, right, so I have 2 minutes in terms of, I promised you time for questions. So Latoya, next slide, please. Why am I not seeing it? Hold, no, I don't know, just give me a, right, good. So we have been talking a lot about a lot of things, and I just wanted to tie up everything in terms of how we can actually allow our business to grow. We spoke about market research and analysis in last week's session. Please remember that it's important to do market research and to analyze the data as we go through the business, not just at the beginning, not just in the middle, right through the year. Look at what is happening in the market, analyze this data, make sure we use this data in terms of how do we make decisions in moving the business forward. What do we change? What do we not change? What is happening to our target market? What is happening to our customers? What are their preferences? Anything changes? What is happening in terms of technology? Let the market tell you what you should do as a business person. Basically, when I look at my research, I've utilized my research and I've just downscaled basically everything that I'm doing. I've changed my target market completely from when I started. I used to sell to traffickers. I used to sell to market vendors. I have removed those completely from my target market based on what my research was saying to me and my record keeping. You need to do your research, constantly do market research, and constantly analyze the data so that it drives your decision making. We touch on ideas, generate innovative ideas. So do that brainstorm challenge that I gave to you so that you look at what the market is saying to you. Do not just do things like that. Let the ideas that you come up with be fed by information that you have gathered from your market research or even from your own experiences, things that are happening to you, probably things that are happening to family and friends. Come up with those innovative ideas that actually move the business forward. And then test those ideas. Very important. You need to test them out first before you introduce them. So validate, we spoke about validation of ideas, tick off based on what you're looking for, based on your goals that you had set and the resources that you have access to. Test them first before you actually put them out there. When you do that, then whenever you do your testing and then you get your necessary feedback, implement the changes that need to be done. So apply the idea to your business. As I said, I downscaled completely. I changed my target market from when I actually started based on what was happening around my business and at the time and based on what the market and the consumers were saying to me, my particular market. All right. So apply your ideas, whether it's in your packaging, whether it's in how you do production, whether it's in what you use in terms of your inputs, whether it's, hey, how I do delivery, whether I decide that here what I'm going to actually do my own transportation and actually do transportation for my farmer friends around me. Implement the changes. Don't be afraid. All right. And then last but not least, monitor and measure. So how this idea that I introduced, how is it affected my business? How did it play out? Learn from the lessons and continue If you have to make changes, make changes. Never love this particular idea if it's not working. Don't be afraid to not do it anymore. It's just that you're going to have to know how you go about removing it, right, from what you're doing. So, for example, I would say to some of my at time I used to do a lot of ginger. No, I don't do ginger. Period. I probably just have some there on the farm because I had the planting material. Too much for us who's doing ginger right now, and you have to read and see what the market is saying to you. So I have basically come completely out of ginger production. So monitor what you're doing. At the time when I did ginger, it was great. No, the market is saying something else different to me. I am making the necessary changes. So you have to be brave enough to make those necessary changes when you have to. Monitor what you're doing. Use your records. Use your experiences. Use your customers and your consumers' feedback. Ask them. Ask them, hey, what I delivered to you this week, was it okay? Did you have any problem? What was the problem? How can you suggest I make the necessary changes to make you happy? Because at the end of the day, they are the ones that pay you, and you have to make sure that they are happy. So those are some of the things that I normally use in terms of deciding, hey, whether business, whether I need to stop do something, or whether I need to make some changes to it, or something of this sort. So monitor and measure. All right. Latoya, I believe it's probably my last slide.
Well, yes, so, after this, the start, and then we have the homework.
Right. Good. So, hey, what are some of the things we can do to make sure that our business is successful? Entrepreneurial qualities. You have to be customer centric. There is nothing beyond that in terms of you have to be somebody who is customer centric. If you're not, then you find somebody in the business that is. If you find your strength, we spoke about looking at our strengths, we spoke about looking at our weaknesses from an individual standpoint, from a business process standpoint. In this particular industry, this particular sector, you have to be resilient. If you're not, then you're going to have problems. You have to be flexible. You have to be willing to change. Find those entrepreneurial qualities that you can build on to make your business go forward. Not everybody have the same strength. Not everybody have the same weaknesses. Some persons very good with marketing, some are not. Some persons excellent with production, just have that green thumb, some not. Some just good with actually interfacing with persons, and some not. Find that in entrepreneurial quality within yourself, within your team, to push your business forward. Business planning and managerial skills. We have spoken about that. You must plan the business going forward. That is essential. You cannot just say, here what? We're not going to plan. We're just going to plan. We're just going to continue to do what we're doing, how we're doing it. But then your market is changing. Your market is changing. So if your market is changing, then you have to change along with the market. Or even if not completely change, you need to adopt some sort of change, because your market is what is paying you. Managerial skills. Not every one of us have this. These are just skills that not everybody has. So as I said, I do accounts and all of that, but I have decided to step away from that and give that over to somebody else within my team. So I am good at production. That's what I do. I am good at sitting down and deciding, here, this is the crop, when it needs to plant, what I need to do, what makes it happy, what don't make it happy. I manage it. I manage that. I don't want to do anything else with the other stuff. If I have to, then I do. And that is one of the first things you need to understand in terms of managing. You cannot do everything. And you must be able to identify the strengths, the different strengths that lies within your team, the persons that you work with. who help you in the business to go forward. And when it's time for you to let go something, you just need to let it go and let somebody else take it over. And you have to learn to incorporate others. What we're doing, it hardly ever have anything that we're doing that is secret, especially once you're accessing the internet. Once you have opened your business to that particular thing, there's hardly anything that you're doing is a secret. All right. So we need to look outside and think beyond just us. And the last but not least is the network ability. We have to learn to network. We have to learn to know who are the major stakeholders that's going to affect what we are doing in terms of business persons. If you have to find a loans officer that's going to be your friend, then you find a loans officer that is going to be your friend. If you know that it is necessary for this person to move your business forward. If you have to interface with your marketers, whether you're a supermarket, whether it's a vendor, pass in, find out what's going on. How are you today? Everything good? If you have a number, you can call them. I'm just following up to see how you're doing today. Would you need anything? How is the produce going? Pass into the supermarket. See how your product is displayed. See if it needs to be replaced. Go, form relationships. It's important for you to form relationships with the necessary stakeholders that is going to move your business forward. All right, because everything is time and time is money. Everything you do has a cost to it. Even to do networking has a cost because probably sometimes you have to travel to find your market. Sometimes you can call, you have to pay for that, and the business should be covering the necessary costs in terms of telephones and things like that. So networking ability. Once you get that down pat, your business should be successful going forward. And I think, Latoya, that's my last slide. I have one more slide.
Yes, you have the assignment as well as the business tips.
Good. So what I wanted to share in terms of the tip with you is mastering business challenges. Don't give up. The beginning is always the hardest. And I've proven that. To start was a challenge for me. To actually exist and still be around now is a challenge, but I see the benefit in it. We need to feed ourselves. COVID taught us that. The Ukraine war is teaching us that as well. We need to feed ourselves, and we need to feed ourselves healthy food. So my tip today is to master business challenges. Don't give up. The beginning is always the hardest. And I say, thank you, ladies, for listening to me this afternoon. I now give you 10 minutes, Latoya, for questions.
Yep.
And let me see how best I could answer them. So ladies, the floor is yours now in terms of you had questions that you wanted to ask. I will try my best to answer them. Any questions? I know it was a mouthful tonight. Anita Nisha says, knowledge getting this. And please remember, you can utilize the chat as well, and you can unmute. If you have a question, if not a question and you have a suggestion, we are all here to learn. You can share that as well. Renita, you said I answered your question. Was that pertaining to? Oh, yeah. I'm fully aware of that stress issue that could lie as women doing business. I am fully aware of that. As I said, what I have done is that I have basically done allocation of roles in terms of moving the business forward. Yes, King, I am seeing your raised hand. Do you have a comment, suggestions? You can unmute.
One question. What is the name of your business? Did you hear me?
Yes. What is the name of my business, right? So what I did is that I combined my grandparents' name, and the name of my farm is actually Ma Adele's farm. So that's the name of my business, Ma Adele's farm. And I don't only do production, I also do education under it as well.
Oh, okay.
Any other question? So we understood everything? Or you're gonna need the slides, and then if you have further questions, you would drop them in the chat, and then they would probably get back to me. Even if it's from the previous sessions.
Good night.
Good night.
I have a question regarding certification
Mhm.
with natural and organic products. Is there a body in St. Vincent that does that?
Not that I know of. I know that there are persons who are very much interested in it. But as I said, certification is a process. It takes a while for you to actually go through that process, even if you're looking at simple GMP, which is the good manufacturing practices, or if you're looking at GAP, which is the good agriculture practices, or if you're looking at HACCP as well. So these things take time. I have a couple clients that actually go into those process. So I don't know. There is not that I know of, in terms of a governing body for that particular certification. Not that I know of.
So there are international bodies or regional bodies then?
There are regional and international bodies, yes, that does certification for certain things. For example, we know that Grenada is certified in terms of their spices. I know of one client here that I work with that is going through that particular process of getting HACCP ready. And we have, what I know in St. Vincent, we have, I think, probably two certified certified inspectors as it relates to this to certification. So if you need that additional information, what I could probably do is provide it for Latoya, and she can share it with you in the chat.
Okay, thank you.
All right, no problem. Let me see. Veltina is asking, which is best for a business, to have a trader's license or to register it? Veltina, unfortunately, you're going to need to do both. So if I would advise you to do the business registration for a couple things. One, if you need a business account, the registration of the business name is necessary for that particular aspect. Also, we mentioned it, you need to take care of yourself. You will not be able to do agriculture for the rest of your life because our body do age, and agriculture do put a lot of stress on our bodies. So we were talking briefly about Social Security, and if you need to cover Social Security, then you need to have your business name registration certificate as well. Your trader's license, if you're going to be trading, it's necessary to do your trader's license. But in terms of me advising you in terms of which one is best, I would say look at both of them. All right. Natalie is saying it seems like a huge mountain to climb, but your last slide. Okay, all right. Any additional information, if you need it, you could put in your chat. You could probably tell Latoya, and then I could see how best I could facilitate the information. What is the cost of HACCP? Renita, HACCP is very expensive. Very, very expensive. Not just in terms of the actual money that you have to put out, but in terms of the things that you have to do. You have to have certain record keeping. You have to put certain signs in place. It costs a lot of money. And then, of course, you have to go through the training first before you can do the training for your staff, or if you wanted to do the whole staff training. Once it comes to training and certification, it's always very, very expensive. HACCP is very, very expensive. It's a whole process. And it's no longer just HACCP. It has changed recently, again, in terms of the name. So do you know where I can get some orange plants? No, that's a problem, Kisha. That's a problem. The citrus in the country right now, in St. Vincent and the Grenadines, is actually being faced with a disease or a bacteria that is affecting our pests, that is affecting our citrus. And it's just recently the ministry has started back producing citrus for themselves. What I understood, I had a conversation with a plant pathologist so that I can understand what is happening, because I lost about 10 of my local, as we say, colloquial oranges. I lost about 10 of my trees. What the pathologist is saying to me is that the tree itself is actually producing the fungus, or producing the disease that is affecting it. So what we need to do is look at a different species of citrus. So in terms of telling you where you can get your orange plant, you could probably check Dunbarton if you have not done that before, or Walulabu, but I know the ministry is having a bit of issue as it pertains to citrus right now in St. Vincent. Renita, you're probably right. As I said, it's a very expensive investment if you're looking to go that route. Just make sure that when you make your investment, the ROI is at the percentage that is actually going to make the business go forward. What is the process or cost of your trader's license? Okay, so in terms of your trader's license, there is a department in the financial complex that you go to as it pertains to your trader's license. The process is that they normally would send out officers to assess you. They will send out officers to assess what you have, and then I think after they complete their assessment, then they will notify you as to how much you have to pay yearly. I think that is the process as it pertains to your trader's license. Yeah, when it comes to certification, just know that you have to produce documentations. If you're not willing to do that, then it really don't make no sense you go for that. And the other thing is that we as business, as agriculture persons don't like to do, we don't like to document our manual. We don't like to document what we do. We think if we do that, then somebody's going to take our secret, or somebody's going to know what we're doing, or whatever. As I said, there is nothing as it pertains to secret. So if you're not willing to hand over documentation, then forget about certification. Documentation is so buy orange and try to set the seeds, Amanda. Yeah, but what happened is that with a lot of what we have a lot of propagated stuff. So remember, we have to feed the world. The world is getting larger rapid, and the 10 trees that I have couldn't do nothing much in terms of producing, in terms of meeting the demand that is out there in the market. So if we try to do orange and we set the seeds, if we don't propagate it, it's not going to be in the time that we need it to be. It's not going to be at the sweetness that we want, and it's not going to be at the number of fruits that we actually get from the plant. So propagation is one of those agriculture techniques that is necessary for us in terms of feeding ourselves. in a timely manner. All right. Citrus green is, yeah. Yep, that's true. All right, good. So I don't know. I think I've gone over my time, ladies. Sorry, my apologies. Let me say thank you for being with me for the past 3 sessions. I appreciated the interaction. I appreciated the sharing. Thank you for your lovely poems. Thank you for your lovely recaps. I appreciate them very much. Going forward, I encourage you to take this energy and to take this love for the industry forward. Enjoy your next sessions and have fun. If you need further information from me, you can reach me at the Center for Enterprise Development. That's where I work. You can reach me there in terms of business development, or you can access me through Helen's Daughters if you have additional comments, suggestions, or requests in terms of information. So thank you very much again, and all the best.